Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, so have you ever noticed just how much we rely on sheer willpower to try and improve our work performance? We tell ourselves, I'm just going to try harder this time, or I'll focus more, or I'm going to be a productivity machine today. But what if there was actually a cheat code for all of this? Today, we are exploring a truly fascinating concept that has the power to literally transform the way we operate, both as individuals and as teams. We're looking at the core premise of nudging success through strategic choice architecture. It's all about how we can purposefully improve work performance, not by forcing anything and definitely not by demanding perfection, but simply by nudging better choices. It's kind of a subtle shift in perspective, but as you're going to see, the results are incredibly powerful.
So, how exactly do we nudge people to make better choices? Think about it for a second. We make hundreds, probably thousands of decisions at work every single day. Everything from deciding which massive project to tackle first, right down to how we format a quick email to a coworker. And we tend to think we make those decisions purely on logic, right? But the environment where those choices actually live plays a massive, massive role in what we ultimately decide to do. The architecture of the choice is what gently pushes or nudges us in the right direction.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to unpack a highly specialized toolkit today. First, we'll explore what is choice architecture. Then, we'll look at defaults and expecting error. After that, we'll cover mappings and giving feedback. And finally, we'll wrap up with complex choices and incentives.
Part 1. What is choice architecture? Let's get right into the foundation of how this actually works.
At its core, choice architecture is the basic concept of using design to help nudge people to make better choices and ultimately improve work performance. The absolute key word here is design. It is the architecture itself that does the nudging. You aren't mandating behavior and you aren't laying down the law. Think of your standard company cafeteria, right? If you want people to eat healthier, you don't ban dessert. That never works anyway. Instead, you put the salads and the fresh fruit right at eye level as soon as people walk in, and you sort of tuck the junk food away on the back. That is choice architecture in action. You are thoughtfully structuring the environment so that the most beneficial choice simply becomes the most natural choice. In a workplace setting, this means designing workflows, software interfaces, and daily routines so the best decision is literally the easiest one to make.
So the crucial point is that this isn't just some abstract high-level theory. We actually have a highly practical toolkit of 6 core applications to make this happen. They are applying defaults, expecting error, understanding mappings, giving feedback, structuring complex choices, and creating incentives. Instead of just crossing your fingers and hoping your team works better, these 6 tools empower you to actively build an environment that naturally guides better decision-making.
Moving right along to Section 2, Defaults and Expecting Error. Let's contrast these two incredibly vital approaches. On one side, we have applying defaults, which is how we proactively set up a baseline choice. It means designing things so that if a person does absolutely nothing, takes no active step, they automatically default into a positive outcome. A perfect real-world example? A 401k retirement plan. When companies automatically enroll new employees, meaning the employee has to actively opt out if they don't want it, participation absolutely skyrockets. For your daily work, a default might be calendar software that automatically blocks out an hour of focus time every morning. Now, on the flip side, expecting error is all about designing a system that anticipates the inevitable. Human beings make mistakes. It's just a fact of life, right? Have you ever typed "please find attached" in an email, hit send, and immediately gotten that pop-up warning you that you forgot the attachment? Yeah, we've all been there. Well, that is a system expecting human error and gracefully guiding you back on track before that mistake is permanent.
Because the truth is, anticipating behavior nudges better outcomes. When you really learn how to apply defaults and expect error, you see how these two concepts work beautifully hand in hand to safeguard work performance. By expecting error, you catch the mistakes. By applying defaults, you guide the baseline behavior. Together, they create this invisible safety net. Truly great systems don't demand perfection from people. Instead, they just assume imperfection, creatively design around it, and consistently nudge people towards success without them even realizing it's happening.
Let's jump into Section 3, Mappings and Giving Feedback.
Let's move to this next pair and see how it builds a continuous loop. Step 1 is understanding mappings, and Step 2 is giving feedback. Now, understanding mappings refers to how people mentally map out their choices to the potential results. Basically, if I choose option A, what exactly happens to outcome B? Some mappings are super easy. If I choose an apple over a donut, I know for sure I'm making a healthier choice. But what about a complex choice? Say picking a workplace healthcare plan out of 20 different options.
It is incredibly hard for the human brain to map out all those dense, confusing variables to a concrete future outcome. But once we understand how those mappings work, or, fail to work in someone's mind, we can actively manage the second step, giving feedback. The system absolutely must interact with the user to show them the real-world result of their mapping.
Because feedback connects action to outcome. Let me detail why this matters so much for your day-to-day performance. Giving feedback directly reinforces a person's understanding of those complex mappings we were just talking about. Imagine a software developer writing some really intricate code. If their platform immediately flags a syntax error the second they type it, that is instant feedback. It prevents a catastrophic failure way downstream, and it immediately corrects the mapping in the coder's brain. When choice architecture is designed to give that kind of immediate, crystal-clear feedback, it helps people continually refine their mental maps. It creates this amazing cycle where they consistently improve and just naturally gravitate toward better, more accurate choices.
Which brings us to our final section, Part 4, Complex Choices and Incentives.
So, when choices are easy, maybe a simple default is all you need. But what happens when the choice is just too nuanced for a default? We are constantly bombarded with choice overload in the modern office. To tackle these incredibly complicated decisions, we have to use two things: structuring complex choices and creating incentives. We need a strategy to drive true, lasting success without totally paralyzing the decision maker.
And this brilliantly illustrates the dynamic balance you need for those really hard decisions. First, we are structuring complex choices to simplify decisions. This basically means taking a massive, overwhelming choice and breaking it down into smaller, highly digestible parts. Think about creating a structured matrix, or even a simple checklist that forces a massive project scope down into a series of easy yes or no questions. It completely prevents analysis paralysis. But simplifying a choice doesn't automatically mean someone's actually going to want to put in the effort to make it. And that is exactly why we must be creating incentives to motivate action. Say you have an employee who needs to complete a really tedious, mentally taxing quarterly audit. They might keep putting it off, right? But if you tie a clear, immediate incentive to that task, maybe a bonus, some public recognition, or even just letting them leave early on a Friday, you give them the push they need to tackle the hard work rather than ignoring it. When you break down a complex choice while simultaneously providing clear, powerful incentives, you absolutely maximize the nudge effect.
So, to tie this all together, strategic choice architecture really does create the ultimate nudge for work performance. By taking the time to learn and apply these tools, applying defaults, expecting error, understanding mappings, giving feedback, structuring complex choices, and creating incentives, we don't just sit around hoping for better results. We literally create a blueprint for them. It's a true superpower. We successfully nudge people to make better choices, which fundamentally transforms organizational behavior and completely elevates how work actually gets done. I want to end on this final, somewhat provocative thought. Who is designing the choices in your workplace? Seriously, think about the environment around you right now. Every system, every form, every single workflow has a choice architect behind it. The real question is, are those choices being designed strategically to nudge success? Well, now that you understand these core concepts, you realize that you hold the power to actually shape that environment. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it leaves you eager to look at your own work performance through the completely fascinating lens of choice architecture.